Good morning. Great to see you all this sunny day. My name is Will Morey, new freeholder here in Cape May County. I'd like to welcome you. Before we get started, if you could stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great, thank you. It is a pleasure to have you all here today. And I just wanted to mention before starting how excited I am about just the opportunity to participate. It feels fairly unusual to be on this side of the podium on a process such as this, but there's just great potential here in Cape May County, and I'm extremely excited to have the opportunity to contribute to that. I'm excited about the projects that are going on, and even more so about the projects that are about to start and those that are being conceived of at this time. With us today also, I'd like to just mention we have Freeholder Director Jerry Thornton. Jerry. And also our good friend from Atlantic County, Charles Garrett, Freeholder Charles Garrett. So we have a number of elected officials in the audience. Thanks very much for joining us today. And before we start, I'd just like to say that I'm really excited about not only the potential of Cape May County, but really I think the proactive attitude that this Freeholder Board has developed to work collaboratively with our not only our local governments, but also our state government, other county governments, and various authorities throughout the region. So I think that's really the key for us here in Cape May County, to start to sort of move the needle in terms of economic growth and opportunity that is not limited to just the summertime, but is limited to our throughout the season as well. Ultimately, I think that means bolstering business, means making Cape May County a better place to live and a better place to work, and provides more opportunity to our residents. And that's really what I think this is all about. So I'd like to start the program, and I want to remind you at the end we do have some time for a community dialogue. So I'd really like to hear from you all as to where you think the county should look, where we can do a better job, should do a better job, and any ideas that you might have that would stimulate this economy through the economic engine of transportation. So we've identified clearly that transportation infrastructure is a huge part of any kind of economic growth initiative. So with that, I'd like to turn this over to our first speaker, Dr. Richard Panenciero. He's the Dean of Facilities Planning and Research at Cape May Community College. He's been active in both education and economic development in Southern New Jersey for the past 30 years, and he's recently completed studies for South Jersey's region's population and employment trends from 2010 to 2040. That's pretty good eyesight to 2040. That's good. I'm worried about the next 10 years. And he's also written about economic development strategies for the regions, counties, and municipalities. Doctor, thank you.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Cape May County for inviting me down. Now that we are at Cape May Community College, I think that's a wonderful thing, but I come from Atlantic Cape Community College. They'd be mad at us up north. In any case, what I want to do, what I've been asked to do is go over the connection between economic development and transportation, talk about some ways to connect those, some ways to think about how transportation and economic development go together, and then some of the folks that come after will talk about particular projects and places that are happening. I will say that as an educator, you tell your students and you live by the motto, you learn something new every day. And I was coming down the Parkway this morning, and there's a new sign out there that's changeable. It's a big signboard overhead. And it said something about 66% of all accidents are caused by speeding. Now, I couldn't help thinking if this was the Corzine administration, that would have been a Coca-Cola commercial up there for sure. But also, as a person who deals with numbers, I wonder if 66.5, they would have rounded up or down. You see, you think about those things and distract you from the road, but I got here safely anyway. What I will do, let's see, where is this going? There we go. I'll get through the first ones rather quickly. The Center for Regional Business Research, we've done a lot of work here in Cape May and around South Jersey and outside of South Jersey. The waterways, we've done work on, business associations. Vicki Clark had me down, I want to say, talked to the chamber about a month and a half ago, and she said, you know, come up with something out of the box. So I said, okay, that's easy. How about medical marijuana as a business in Cape May County? I thought it was a good idea. Well, I got all these emails, some of which were decipherable and some of which were not, and people that liked the idea and people didn't. My favorite one was the person who said, now you know I've lived down here, so I can make a little fun, can I? Said, finally life in the village will be tolerable. So with that in mind, I go on. What I would like you to do, I lived in the villas, come on. What I will do, I know.
One of the security guards.
I'm in trouble already, see? The email address here, the email address was on the first slide, that's why I went fast. So there it is. All right, thank you. There we go, my buddy. The thing is, we did do some work on 2040. That's a foghorn if you didn't recognize it. Transportation in Cape May County, boats, planes, trains, cars. We have all of them, some more developed than others. As you can get into the county, get out of the county, not too easily by many of those, but there are means of transportation running around, some local, and we'll talk about that, and some from the outside world, as you know. But this is where we've done studies before, and on economic development. In fact, I was regional manager at one point for Atlantic Electric and did Maryland Eastern Shore as well as South Jersey. A lot of similarities. But if you read the guidelines from the Federal Highway Administration to do these impacts, look at number 2, agree on the basic demand factors. And to have a little bit of an adult conversation about economic development in Cape May County, we want to make those connections. What is it that transportation satisfies? Well, it satisfies a demand somewhere. People want to go somewhere so they can consume a good or a service or get there or go see grandma or whatever they're doing, but there has to be a demand for that. And what we want to link together as much as we can when talking about transportation economic development is the other big factor in this is land use. All right, so when you plan where you want to put jobs or where jobs are going to go, or if you're going to plan where an industrial park's going to go, or if you're going to plan where a corporate park or an airport or whatever you want to place, or go to the beach, the infrastructure and the land uses have to allow those, and the transportation responds to that. They all have to be coordinated. What I will say is the backdrop, these are backdrop slides. By 2040, we did a projection, and in fact, we got projections from many of the forecasting houses. Population in Cape May, as you can see, 30 years, 28 years from now, is projected to be only a little bigger than it is today in full-time population. All right, so the question is, how do you get a little different economic structure so that there can be young people, older people, there can be families here, there can be second homeowners, and there can be a diversity of folks in the population. The results that we now see is older demographics, stagnant tax base, all these things are going on. But when you come to talk about economic development in Cape May, it's always, there's always a split decision in some cases. People would like it to keep the way it is. It's a quality of life. That's why a lot of people are here. At the same time, there's a desire to give a little more of a dynamic nature to the economy. And like Yogi Berra said at one point, you don't want to get a situation why people don't go there anymore because it's too crowded. So Cape May is not, would like to stay away from that and keep the quality of life. Just some more background, as you can see, 150 miles away. Gets you to Washington, D.C., it gets you out to Pennsylvania, it gets you up to northern New Jersey and beyond. 150 miles, we all worry about the gas prices. 150 miles by a car, it goes 20 miles per gallon at $5 a gallon, it's $37.50. Put 4 people in the car, it's $8 a piece. You do what I used to do in high school, put 7 people in a Falcon, and you collect a quarter, and gas was 19.9. How old am I? And but if you look at that as a percentage of the cost of a rental for a week, I don't know what the rentals are, it depends where you are, but the transportation cost is very, very low. So the tourism season, we'll talk about tourism, but the questions always come up, how about getting there? Day trippers is a little different, we'll talk about those a little bit too. Who put that there? The Giants, oh my goodness, I knew I'm in foreign territory. But this is, that is cheering because the state of policy in New Jersey, I know there's some folks from New Jersey DOT, those are the rail systems in New Jersey. And if you can see South Jersey, you can see the paucity of rail systems. Part of that, again, is joining land use and density with the transportation system. Those are the ones that exist from New Jersey Transit at the present time. All right, so we have a different view. We have a different structure, and certainly we probably have a different policy that should take place in South Jersey. It's a chicken and egg thing. If there's not going to be many more people, why would you put a train? If there's not going to be a lot of people, why would you widen a highway? It depends on your perception of what you want to do and the demand that's at the end of the road again. All right, here's the other issue that we have. All the pink land is environmentally sensitive, okay? So what does that leave you? All right. All right, and here's the one is sort of the connection between these. You'll find this, let me explain to you. This is what transportation does, okay? Economic development is no more than OPM, other people's money. The question is, how do you get people to come here, spend money, leave their money here, and go away, or to buy things from the area? Trenton makes and the world takes. Trenton manufactured steel, okay? People paid for it. Trenton became a fairly thriving, wealthy place. Why? Because there was value added in those goods, all right? What we do is bring people in as tourists. They come in, they spend their money, they go away. They purchase a service here. Well, the idea of economic development is to find a way to import dollars, all right? And then it comes in, people come down here for tourism, retail, wholesale. They might come, hopefully, for economic development. You try to develop some diversity, office, maybe some R&D, industrial, for people to come in and spend their money. That money then goes out again. We send out goods. The lobster goes out on a lobster truck every day. I couldn't find a picture of the lobster truck, but goods go out. And we also export services. People come here for recreation. You see a big fish, that's me standing next to it. I thought I'd throw it in there. So anyway, we export recreation, tourism, amusement parks, etc. But what we'd like to know is, are there other things that could be produced here? Could there be things produced here that are higher value added so that incomes can go up in the area? You can get more year-round jobs, etc., to get a more dynamic economy. Okay, so that's generally other people's money. Look at the towns that are good. The city of Princeton's very wealthy. It's got a university there. Kids come in, professors come in. They spend all kinds of dollars in all kinds of fancy shops. Leave their money there, and then they go out to the surrounding area. The best one I have is that the question really is, can you do this proactively? Can you link transportation, economic development proactively? The best example, and I've used this before, is Red Bank. Red Bank in the 60s had race riots. The stores were shuttered up. Mayor Ed, and I can't remember his last name, came in the early 80s, and he said, there's one way to fix Red Bank, that's other people's money. We sit here and we're surrounded by Colts Neck, we're surrounded by Rumson, we're surrounded by Little Silver. How do we get those people to come here and bring their money? We're in the wealthiest part of New Jersey, all right? And they sat down and they said, we're getting rid of the five and dime. They're out. I don't want them here. What we're going to bring in is accounting firms. What we're going to bring in is doctors' offices. What we're going to bring in is fancy restaurants. 10 years later, you can't find a parking. You couldn't find, I lived in Red Bank for a while. You couldn't find a parking space in Red Bank on a Thursday night. Okay, so it helps have neighbors like Bon Jovi and Springsteen, people with a lot of money. They're going to come in and spend money, but they did it proactively. They sat and thought about it and decided how to do it. All right, so let's talk about some of these ways that we bring in activity, and tourism and retail trade are the ones that drive the economy down here. Healthcare is another one. It's mostly internal. However, people don't come here for healthcare. Tourism and retail. With that, transportation, you get a lot of flow and parking issues. People moving around. How do you deal with the internal structure to the county? The issues that we've identified forever are the parkway lights. We know that in the intersections that are on the parkway. But there are issues like you have Home Depot in Middle Township. Well, that intersection needs to be improved, definitely, to get more commercial flow and invite some other commercial industries to be there near the intersections. How about day trippers? Why is there not a park and ride at the airport? Give them beach tags and a bus trip and a couple dollars, charge them whatever it costs. Take them places, intercept all those cars coming in from Route 47 and just park them out there and do what what Disneyland does. Walt Disney's long gone, but do what Disneyland comes. Pick them up and take them to the beach. Get those cars off the road. External issues, access and leakage is a big one. When we talk about economic development, we want dollars coming in. All right, show of hands now. How many people shop at Hamilton Mall? Come on, come on, come on. Don't lie. There you go. How many people shop at Cumberland Mall? Okay. All those are dollars leaving the county. All right, so when you look at transportation, the Garden State Parkway, all right, there are the three malls. Off to the right and up to the top of the county, you have Ocean City and Upper Township, fairly heavily populated. Most of those people probably go north or go west, all right? And the question is, where would you put retail? It's fairly, if you look at a map, I think it's fairly clear where you would put more retail to capture those dollars so they don't leave the county, okay? Somewhere up by Upper, it looks like to me, right off the Garden State Parkway. So you'd like to marry the big problem in Upper, as we know, is no sewers. So what you'd like to marry is some of that together as you can. And of course, the people from, I'll get another bad email, the People's Republic from Ocean City go over the bridge to Summers Point, which is in Atlantic County, to do a lot of their shopping and go on to out of the county. So it would be nice to have something up there that attracts those dollars. All right, here's the study that we did for the SJTA, actually. Sam's here somewhere. Quite a couple of years ago when they were going to open the new interchange actually back in Camden County, or Gloucester County, wherever it is, but what we did was, let's look at the interchanges and let's look at the patterns of business. And the businesses, as you can see, we did a before and after. But basically, you see that the businesses start locating themselves around the interchanges, and they start locating themselves along the major thoroughfares. And again, the improvement of the interchanges in coordination with land use could invite those businesses and make it easier for people to get there. All right, some other things to do with transportation. One are town nodes. I know Middle Township recently redid the master plan. Yes, people from Middle around. This is from, the interesting part of this is that's a Yogo. Yogo's an innovative company. It's come around. I think there's one in Cape May County somewhere, down Rio Grande maybe. There's one down Rio Grande. This is a picture of the one in Galloway Township. If you know what Galloway Township did, they created a town center. There was nothing there. There was a place called the Chicken Coop. I used to go sit near the fire, the potbelly stove with a bunch of old guys who were probably my age. They were old guys then when I first moved there, but the place was nothing more than a couple mom and pops on the corner, and the Chicken Coop, which was an old chicken coop, had antiques, took up the other corner. Now if you go, there is literally the town center. Proactively planned, they sat down and said, how do we improve the flow of traffic from Garden State Parkway, Jimmy Leeds Road, out to the town center? How do we improve the flow of traffic from other places in the area to get to the town center? And with that, with those transportation infrastructure improvements, the town node has done very well. In fact, the last piece just helped the developer do is to put townhomes around the periphery of that town center, so now people can walk to the shopping and they don't have to take their car out to go to a hardware store or a supermarket or whatever else you do, what we normally term as smart planning. Some other ones in search of outlets. We've talked about outlets down here. That's Lewis, Delaware. If you think Lewis, Delaware is about as isolated as anywhere, okay? It does have Route 1, goes near it, not up to it. But in fact, the whole idea of having Tangers, does that sound familiar? They do the walk now. They're the ones who operate these outlets. A good place with access. I don't know, maybe the airport, but there's plenty of other places in the county that would be outlet friendly. They have about the same season as Cape May County does. It's no longer, no shorter. The ferry goes there. You're on the other end of the ferry, but the outlets are a possibility. And those are actually growing in Lewis. The Salem solution's another one. All right, the Salem solution was, what did Salem do? Salem went and got themselves 3% sales tax. Okay, they said our county's at a disadvantage. We have to compete with Delaware, pass legislation and get us at 3%, and now 3.5%, I would imagine. Sales tax for the entire county, not a UEZ, but the entire county. Okay, there are opportunities for redevelopment zones. There are opportunities in the county to coordinate the transportation and land use with areas in need of redevelopment, so you could have tax breaks, and who knows, there's possibilities there as well, but they attract businesses. Other possibilities are, what do you do with the airports and the industrial parks? Remember, there's got to be a demand at the end. There's got to be a reason for trucks to go there. There's got to be a reason for being there, an economic reason, okay, to bring in other people's money. Well, people talk about green industries. The Port of Paulsboro. Port of Paulsboro is an open field like that one. I actually wrote the Federal Highway Administration impact to get the highway interchange from 295 to go into Paulsboro. All right, get funding for that. All right, but that's what it was. That's what it is. And the Port of Paulsboro to open in 2012, supposedly. I'm not sure they're going to get there, but also got the state to say, okay, we're going to give you a $100 million tax credit if you can bring in manufacturers of green industries. Okay, and without the Sanders here, there are things that can be done. And again, you could do some locally with tax breaks, et cetera. Perhaps be an attraction, not only for green industries, but for any industry that would benefit from being here. And I don't know if I have another slide, but things like this. Not only do we have a transportation system that is bricks and mortar or asphalt or whatever it is, but there's also e-commerce. The other transportation system is the electronic network. That's not so good down here, by the way. But in any case, it can be improved easily with some effort. But there are a number of incubators around in rural areas, very similar to Cape May, places that are 5-month, 6-month economies and not year-round. Where's Michael? Michael from Triad. We wrote the grant to get the incubator that you see down the bottom in Salisbury. Was part of an economic development plan for them. There's one in Newcastle, Delaware. And what they do is they bring in small firms. They could be home firms. They can be any kind of startups, incubate them, get them to grow, and then hopefully they stay in the area. We tried to get money in Woodbine. We looked at that area for an incubator. We did one in Pleasantville. The question is, who's going to be there? Whose demand is it going to be? And now with technology the way it is, there's all kinds of possibilities for that. So other places have done it in climates and economies that are very, very similar to Cape May. If you go on the New Jersey website, it says we're no longer in the incubator business, by the way. The state itself does not have funding for it. However, USDA does have funding for these things. I didn't see anybody from USDA, but the Department of Agriculture under Rural Development has money for some of these things to develop them going forward. Again, you need to be somewhere that you have access to. There's plenty of places around the county, but also given the type of business that you could develop in an incubator, that access might be electronic, it might be access to nice places to live. everybody that's in an incubator wants a Dunkin' Donut or a Starbucks, so you got to work these things going forward. All right, in summary, you could do nothing. You could sit and wait. And I think if you do economic development, I tell a story all the time. 1982, Jim Stump, I was the planner, hired as the planner in Lower Township. Jim Stump drove me to the airport, showed me the Everlon building, and said, "You have to get people in there." Well, is there anybody in there? 10 years later, 2 fires, USCDA grant, and a bunch of other things. I think it's still empty. You can sit around, or you need to, in fact, proactively work at some of these things. And you need to certainly coordinate the land use, the infrastructure, and the transportation. Need to be proactive. All right, and something that Cape May County has come and gone. I've worked with Steve Hampton. Does anybody remember Don Kelly? Even before that, goes way back, right? So there's been people in and out going. Need to be proactive and work at it. Change use of airports, industrial parks. You need to find a reason for them to be there, a reason for an end use. All right, whether it's going to be green industry or some other industry that settles. We at one point talked to the fishing industry about freezer space, concentrating freezer space. They use freezers all over South Jersey. There's a possibility there maybe to do something with them. Okay, that's hopefully the connection. I hope that's clear, the connection between transportation and economic development and the infrastructure. And I think what you'll hear is some examples of what's going on behind there. So thank you very much, and we'll have questions later.
I've already dreamed up a couple of questions, so get ready. Our next speaker is State Senator Jeff Van Drew. Among Senator Van Drew's many responsibilities, he serves on the Budget and Appropriations Committee. He served as chair of the Coastal New Jersey Evacuation Task Force. Got a little practice, I guess, this past fall. Authored several pieces of legislation as a result of the findings of the task force and is currently working to secure representation for Cape May County on the New Jersey Turnpike Authority. We're really pleased, Jeff, to have you participate today. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. It's good to be with you. Let me thank the Freeholders, first of all, for being so proactive. I look forward to working with you, Freeholder Director, Freeholder Morey, the entire team. We are in this together. Rich, your presentation was very good, but to me, the part that struck me the most was at the very end of it, when you said we have the option to do nothing, to stay where we are, and we can see the trending in the county. Now, let me tell you, I believe, and I really mean this, I chose to live in Cape May County quite a few years ago. It is one of the most beautiful places on the face of the earth. We're lucky to be here. But we have some challenges. And one of those challenges is that our population is aging, we're becoming less diverse and less diversified. And that's why the work that this board is doing is so important, because I believe that what we need to do, and I think the board has to lead the way locally for the county, is to focus and find what it is they want, what their vision is, where they want to go. And I pledge to you as your senator, and I know our assemblyman will be the same way, across party lines, we're going to work to drive that for you because we want to get that done. It is truly an important challenge. It's a huge challenge, and it's an important task, and it's something that we need to do. It concerns me a great deal. I've spoken to folks in county government before, even when I was on the board. We spoke about how important it was to try to ensure that we had that diversified atmosphere. We need young people and older people and middle-aged people. Quite frankly, you need people who own businesses, and you need people who are going to work in businesses, and you need them all to live here. Otherwise, everything's going to happen around us and beyond us, and we're going to be a vacation land and a playland and a preserve, but not an active, vibrant community. And I don't think that's acceptable. So any way I can help you folks, I'm there. I'm with you. I'm going to get right to it. One of the issues, and we're going to go to the mundane, but sometimes the mundane, just the everyday stuff is really important. And I have heard from the board, and again, they were proactive. They went out and they said, you know what, take the fence down on the Garden State Parkway. And I got to tell you, I've heard about a lot of issues, and I've been here a few years. I sat right next to where the Freeholder Will Morey is right now up there. I've served in local government. I've been an assemblyman. And there's been a number of issues that really have affected the county over the years. But the passion that people have about this issue and how they feel about it, and I know it was Freeholder Shepherd that really pushed as well with the rest of the board to move forward and say, we really have to do something. And I did listen. And I tell you why I think that is, by the way. It's just a human response. People travel up and down that parkway every day. It's our main roadway. And it is the most beautiful part of the Garden State Parkway. And if there's something we're proud of in Cape May County, one of the issues we're proud of is the fact that we are so beautiful. And when you look where that fencing is, which looks like industrial fencing that would surround a chemical plant or around a prison, it's one of the most beautiful vistas in the entire state of New Jersey. And to see that fencing with barbed wire on top of it, and concurrently to have the tolls go up, and to be told that it was for safety and public security. So with all that happening together, it just fired people up, something fierce. They were really, truly aggravated about it. We got emails and letters and telephone calls, and it went on for a good period of time, and it's still going on. And I have to say that I have to thank the governor's office and everybody involved, and I'm going to go through that in a little bit because we went through a process. I've been working hard on this for a long period of time. The Chief of Staff, Kevin O'Dowd, I've had many conversations for long periods of time with him. I've spoken to the governor about it. I've spoken to the Chief Counsel, as even yesterday, Charlie McKenna, which some of you I believe know him, the governor himself, the DOT Commissioner, Jim Simpson, the Executive Director of the Turnpike Authority. So I'm here to deliver news. The good news is the fence is going to come down. That's the good news. It's not perfect news. It never is in government. It is going to be part of the process, and this is not going to be years in the future because there's more good news. I think there's a lot of good news. We have a lot of issues, and this talks about jobs and it talks about infrastructure as well. As you know, we have the Beasley's Point issue and the Parkway, Garden State Parkway, Great Egg Bridge issue at the same time. And I know your engineer, Dale Foster, has been working real hard on it. In that issue, it's obviously become very apparent that it's important, most especially with the Beasley's Point Bridge being demolished, and it is going to be demolished, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. As that process takes place, we have to do something with the Garden State Parkway, particularly the southbound bridge. It's older, it has deficiencies, it needs to be replaced. The commissioner has committed to it, and as we stand here and talk today, just so that everyone knows, they are now awarding, up in Woodbridge, the final design for the new southbound bridge, and they are slated to begin construction to break ground next year in 2013. In 2013, as they break ground for that bridge, and hopefully, now by the way, I always temper this with saying that this is what they tell me, and everybody who's on the board here can relate to that. This is what they tell me, and I believe them. There's never anything that this chief of staff, this governor, this council has told me that they haven't kept their commitment. So they've all, again, as late as yesterday, I checked, rechecked, and checked again to make sure that we're accurate with this. And from everything I know that we are, they are hopeful, not hopeful, they say they will begin this process in 2013. When they begin that, when they demolish the bridge, they're going to take down the fencing on both sides. They're going to remove the fencing. They are not going to replace it. They realize that down in South Jersey, where we are, that fencing, the aesthetics of it is unacceptable, and they're going to construct the bridge in a way that the fencing is not necessary. Now, we all don't think the fencing was ever necessary. I get it. I understand. I don't know that they're going to come out and say that, quite frankly. And I'm not going to worry about it at this point, because the good news is that the fencing is going to come down. They're not going to replace it. The bridge is going to be replaced. It's being awarded the final design today. And as part of that process, because this is a whole bigger process, when they do the new southbound bridge on the Parkway, they have to do something called wetlands mitigation. And anybody who isn't familiar with it should be, and I'm sure that the Freeholder Board is. It is a painful process. Now I'm going to tell you what I think. I'm going to be very candid. Wetlands mitigation means that, quite frankly, if you're going to fill in or destroy or harm or take away wetlands, that you have to replace them elsewhere. And it's a formula. Sometimes it's 2 to 1, sometimes it's more than that, sometimes it's restoring wetlands, sometimes it's creating wetlands. And in its vision, the idea of it is good, because we all want to keep our wetlands in New Jersey. We don't want to take it away. But we do it to the point that it's become such a bureaucratic snafu that if you're working along a roadway like the Parkway and it's a relatively minimal amount of wetlands, you still have to go through this process. And I'm going to be very candid. We're not really disturbing what in my mind is real wetlands as we put those overpasses in the Parkway. We should be able to move forward and do that. However, it is the last goal that we have to reach. We have to take care of that issue, the wetlands mitigation, and that's something they're working on with the traffic lights. It is also something that they have to work on when they do the new Great Egg Bridge. The way they are going to deal with the wetlands mitigation there is by demolishing the Beasley's Point Bridge. When they demolish it, they're going to create more wetlands. So that is kind of a twofer. It's a really, that does work for everybody, because it ensures that the cost of demolishing the bridge is a cost that's worthwhile, because it's going to save the state money in creating wetlands, if everybody's with me. And I know this is a complicated process, so it's all good. So over the next few years, if you can imagine, we're going to have a lot of activity, which I see some of my friends there in construction. It means that there's going to be a lot going on, because if everything falls in place correctly, and it should, we're going to be replacing the traffic lights and putting the overpasses in. We're going to be replacing the southbound part of the Great Egg Bridge, and we're going to be demolishing the Beasley's Point Bridge, which means it's probably going to be a lot of traffic headaches, and that's going to be something that you all are going to have to discuss and help us deal with at the same time. It's good news. I mean, it's finally, you know, I'm glad that they listened. Perfect news would have been, we're taking down the fence tomorrow. Realistically, I don't know if that's going to happen or if it would happen. I have to tell you, the executive director, she is coming down this week. She is going to look again. She knows it's your desire. Believe me, everybody knows. We've talked about this issue over and over again, but I am happy to give you that information. The bigger issue, though, is whether it's cutting the trees down on the Parkway, or whether it's putting fencing up on the Parkway where we all don't think it's needed, or a host of other issues, whether it's the terminus of the Parkway, which is still something that really needs to be dealt with, where 109 goes into the, that's a very dangerous area there, and we need to do more, whether it's the removal of the traffic lights, whether it's a full interchange at exit 20, if you want to talk about economic development in Upper Township, that is something that absolutely needs to be done. All those issues. Quite frankly, I think sometimes the Turnpike Authority doesn't have a strong enough or a good enough sense of what those issues are. And a friend of mine, Senator Connors, across the aisle, ranking Republican, he's the senator from Ocean County, and I, as you know, held a press conference, and we said, you know what, we need to do better with this Turnpike Authority. I'm not even blaming them. They don't, you know what, when I speak to the folks up north, they can't quite understand what the big deal about the fence is. Because truthfully, if you travel the Parkway up north and somebody was to slip in that fence in somewhere, and they did, that wasn't the only fencing that went up, there wasn't a word, there wasn't a peep anywhere else. It was only down here that they really heard about it. We have a different kind of environment. We have different issues. We have tourism as a main driver of our economy. We have people that love the natural surroundings that they have. We need somebody on that authority that's gonna advocate for us every day, every week, every month, every meeting, every year, that's gonna be there. And we need them to be from South Jersey. There's 173 miles of Garden State Parkway. Between Senator Connors in Ocean County and me in Cape May County, we have over 100 miles of it. We represent over 100 miles with Senator Whalen in between. Anybody know, out of the 8 commissioners, now one of them is the DOT commissioner himself, so we'll say the 7 appointees. Anybody know how many are from that 100-mile stretch from Ocean County on down? Correct, 0, not one, not one. How can, over 50% of the parkway is here. It is the spine and the backbone of transportation in our area, and not one of them are from here. That's not right. It's not fair, and it shouldn't be. And I would just hope on the natural appointment process, and it's nobody's fault, it's not this governor's fault, I'm not going to blame anybody, it's politics the way it happens, but it came to us that we're at a point where we need to mandate that because we have such a huge hunk of it and it's so important to us. And it's a very modest piece of legislation. One commissioner has to come from among Ocean, Cape May, or Atlantic County. I don't think that's asking too much. I don't think it's something that's a huge request. So that's our one piece of legislation that we spoke about, and we're going to work hard across the aisle to really drive it. I would ask from this board one thing. Ocean County just passed a resolution supporting the legislation. Atlantic County, Senator Connors told me, is in the process of doing so, and if Cape May County could do so, that we would very much appreciate that. Thank you, Freeholder Director. Second piece of it is that we really feel, let me say this. When we had the press conference, I guess there was 8 or 10 reporters there from everywhere, radio, TV, and the print media. And I asked them, I said, has anybody who's here now ever been to a Turnpike Authority meeting? And anybody know what the answer was? Same answer you gave me before, 0. It's 2.5 hours away. Reporters are busy, things are, resources are stretched thinner than ever. They don't make it up there. Yet all the decisions, so many of them, are over that 100-mile stretch. So we're asking that for 2 of those meetings to be, again, among our friends in Ocean, Atlantic, and Cape May, and they would rotate. One would be in Ocean, then it would move to Atlantic, then to Cape May, and we would keep rotating the meetings. We're hopeful to get that as well. It allows our residents, our citizens, to give input locally on the important local issues. It allows our media to ask them the really tough questions. It allows us to know what the heck is going on, because sometimes we don't even know. Let me tell you, folks said, gee, how come nobody knew about the governor didn't know about the fencing, the senator didn't know, the assemblyman, the freeholders? It was one of many, many things that are talked about. And these minutes go to the governor's office, and he has the ability to veto them. And he's not going to pick out fencing. It's a minor issue, it seems. In our case, it was a big issue. So we need to know a little more what's going on, particularly when it affects our region. And we're going to really try to drive that legislation as well. At the very best, we get this done, and we really are going to try, both sides of the aisle. And at the very least, believe me, we've made them very, very aware of the situation. And I'll leave you with this before I go on with some of the other issues. They know about the fencing, and they know about Cape May County, and they know that we're concerned, and they also know that Ocean and Atlantic are concerned as well. We really have to make a lot of noise with this, and we're going to have to continue to pursue it, and we will do that. And just in summation, again, and I kind of said this before, I believe there's going to be a lot of activity here over the next few years. A lot of construction, which is good in most ways, except for the inconvenience. It's going to create some jobs. The bridge should be demolished. The Great Egg Bridge should be replaced. The parkway lights should be coming off. And then I believe our next phase of discussion really needs to be, as we're moving along here, what to do with Exit 20 and what to do with the terminus of the parkway. And I know years ago, Dale and I spoke about it. By the way, Rich, you're right. We talk about issues, and just get into that for a second. What drives me crazy, and you can't help it happens sometimes in government, Director, you'll relate to this. Some of the things you're talking about now, you were talking about when you first got on the board. Me too, And you don't want to do that. I mean, we want to get stuff done. So I'm hopeful that we really can move on some of these issues. And let me finally end by saying, when you determine what it is that you want to do as far as the economic development issue, if it's something that's doable, I really will help you in any way that we can, because I sincerely worry about the county a little bit sometimes. I didn't like when I saw on the census that our population dropped. It doesn't, it's good not to grow too fast and too quick. So, very candidly, there are some areas of the state that are just, exploding, and the schools can't keep up, and the road structure can't keep. We don't want that in Cape May County. We want to keep this special environment. But we don't want to wither away as well. We want to stay a vibrant community that's diversified by age and across the board in every way that's possible. So I'm with you if I can help. Did you want me, because I have to leave in a little while, did you want me to?
Please, yes.
So I've been told I can have any questions that you want to give me now. Either I did a real good job or a real bad job. Yes?
We make 347 a 4-lane highway. There's just woods on either side. You go up to Delaware, you got 4 lanes down to 2 lanes. Why can't you start now on something like 347, making a 4-lane stretch in there?
Would we still have the problem with the bottleneck, though? I want to make sure I'm understanding you correctly. Once we got into 47, and may I speak about the whole bigger issue of one of the most difficult issues, speaking about what's doable and not, is Route 55. So again, after going through, been in public policy and government for a number of years, and actually through some different campaigns over the years on both sides of the aisle, and we're all guilty and we all do. Everybody talks about, we're going to get 55 done. And I'd love to get it done. I clearly would like to get it done, and I believe that we could get it done in an environmentally acceptable way. The cost is huge, number one, but that isn't even the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the environmental issue. And it isn't just whether, Freeholder Thornton or Freeholder Morey, or I think that it's not a big issue. It is this whole network of folks. The Route 55-47 corridor, let me be more specific, it's actually 47, is identified by every group literally on the face of the earth. And you think I'm exaggerating, but I'm not. From wildlife groups to the Nature Conservancy to the Sierra Club to the Environmental Federation, I can go through the list. So I put in my legislation, I got 2 pieces. One of them says, let's begin the design phase of Route 55 in an environmentally acceptable way, elevated highway type thing. It's been done in other places. We don't even have to have access and egress off of it, straight shot into the parkway. Let's do it. Let's begin the design. Haven't gotten anywhere, quite frankly, with it. And the second one is that which we don't really need another study, but in this piece of legislation I said we want, and we still have it in, force DEP and DOT to come together and determine an environmentally acceptable way to do it. We've gotten it partway through committees, partway through the process, and then it fails. The reason that it does is environmentalists are very, very opposed to it, and if you don't think they have a big voice in New Jersey, you're wrong. They have a huge voice, and a lot of folks from up north that never have been in one of those traffic jams, have never seen one of those accidents, haven't seen the medevac come and take people away. All those folks are always teaching me about Route 47 and how environmental